What's up, guys? It's Davey Derange. I'm back for my second book review. The last one I did was a bit structured. This, I'm going to just kind of talk about the book. I'm going to just do it my way, talk as if we're at a bench. My book reviews and game reviews aren't very long, but it's something just to pass along what I think is good in my own way, and that's what we're here for. You can catch me live on Twitch a few nights a week at Davey Derange. That's where I do a lot of my talking and gaming and talk about whatever, but this is just quick little videos that I like to pass along. Keep the attention span short here, and yeah. So the book I'm going over is by Delilah Dawson, and it's called Bloom. Now, like I said, I'm going to keep it short, couple minutes, because that's just how I roll. This book is great. This book is a body horror for sure. It's not the normal psychological horror that I like to talk about or read, but it is very good. It is there are romancy parts, and it's about a girl named Rosemary that meets a girl named Ash that runs her market, and in her market she sells soaps, plants, cupcakes, a whole bunch of goodies. I don't know how to say the exact word. Uh, app. You'll have to read it. It's Ash's something. Where I don't know. It's a name for her market. Anyway, so pretty much Ro meets Ash at the market. Ro slowly, day by day, every time she visits, starts to fall in love with Ash. Completely starstruck by Ash, which is her first relationship with a woman she's ever had, which is also why it's so like mesmerizing to her because it's something new. Well, as time goes on and she keeps visiting and keeps getting these delicious cupcakes, the book is very descriptive. The book gives lots of descriptions. She keeps going back and back and back, and eventually they end up hanging out, going on multiple dates. Rosemary finds out that Ash is this old school, no cell phone, no electronics, still talks on the landline farmer that lives off of her own produce and her own sales at the market, which in a way is kind of cool. And as time goes on, Rosemary starts seeing a bunch of red flags, a bunch of privacy, a bunch of don't go in rooms, don't call me uh, like on these times, don't just randomly show up to my house. There's one date where they go on and Ash completely just disintegrates this guy, like for recording them for making out in the woods, but like pretty much demolishes this dude, and which could be a red flag, could not be a red flag. And but as time goes on, Rosemary starts to see that Ash is a very secretive person, and they end up getting in a fight over it because I guess Rosemary crossed one of those boundaries by getting jealous of other people at her market and randomly showing up to her house when she was told not to while she was doing work. So they end up going through a breakup, and during this breakup, Ash finally calls Rosemary and he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm being so secretive. I have a hard time opening up. I have a hard time trusting people. So with that, they end up getting back together, and Ash kind of starts letting Rosemary in a little bit. And well, during that, they end up having sex for the second time, which it's very descriptive about. That's a whole thing. If you like that, read the book. Um, well, during that big night, after all the secrecy, after all the fights, Rosemary gets up in the middle of the night because this giant storm knocks out all the power. And she ends up looking for the breaker all around the house, which she's nervous to do because Ash already told her not to roam around the house. Weird. Well, she ends up checking the whole house and she's like, oh, well, the breaker's got to be in this one door she told me not to go through at the beginning of the book, which was like the first big red flag. So she ends up going down a stairwell, and down the stairwell, there's two doors. It's a wall, a door to the left, a door to the right. Well, she sees the breaker. It's not even in all the other doors. The breaker's at the base of the stairs on the wall. So she clicks it on, the power comes back on. She's like, oh, that's it. I should be good to go. She goes, but I'm curious, and I'm going to break across the line because I'm just a curious person. I'm anxiety ridden from being cheated on in my last relationship, which is why I'm here. So she goes through the door on the left, and what she sees is a processing room, a bunch of tools like for butchering animals, different machines you would use to process meats and stuff. And at the end of the room, the dude she saw named Dave at the beginning where they in the towards the mid when they were hiking, the guy whose phone she took and like completely demolished was laying there with cut off legs and his mouth taped and strapped to a gurney with IVs on him. So she like completely freaks out. She's like, "Oh my God, this is why she didn't want me to come down here. This makes sense. All these red flags, everything I was missing." Well, she sees this freezer and she looks in the freezer and it's just meat. So everything makes sense to her. Of course she can survive because she's down here eating these people to survive. And then it dawns on her like, oh my God, that's why I'm seeing certain ingredients that don't make sense in her pottery and her cupcakes and her soils for her flowers. I'm seeing human remains. That's it all dawns on her that Ash is killing people and using all their bodies to create produce and baking them and eating them and whole cannibalism aspect and just completely messed up. Freezer filled with body parts. She finds the dude's legs in the freezer. They had just ate those for dinner like the week before, which was, I don't know, I find that awesome. It's kind of messed up, but I find that awesome. So she hurries up, she hears Ash, so she goes and checks out the other room. To like hide, and she hears Ash calling her name and it's storming, so she hides in the other room. Ash comes down the stairs. Rosemary goes silent. Ash goes back up the stairs. She's like, this is my chance. Checks all these cabinets, moves all these cabinets, goes and finds a window, tries to go out the window, and as she's going out the window, Ash is standing above her in a storm and like kicks her back in the basement. And then all of a sudden, she lands on her back, pottery goes everywhere, smashes everywhere. Well, here comes Ash down the stairs with this giant knife, and well, there's only one way out, and Ash is standing in it. And then Ash dives into why she's like this. Grandmother was mean. Grandmother taught her everything she knows. Grandmother taught her not to waste any part of the human body, that that it's all for something. Like dives into why she's so twisted the way she is. She was abused, sexually abused, all this crazy stuff to like make her the way she is. And Ash is like, well, okay, I can play into this. I can get out of this. And as she's playing, as Rosemary's playing into this, Ash is like, I told you not to snoop because there's only two ways this is going to work. One, you do everything I say and you never find out about this and we would just be together, but you couldn't respect my boundaries. And two, you live like this and you kill like me and you do everything I do, but you're not like that. And Rosemary's like, okay, yes, I am. I don't have to tell anybody and we can be together. And she goes, do you really love me? And Rosemary's like, yes. She goes, well, then you're going to prove it to me. Come in this room. So she goes in the room where the guy is, and the guy's just thrashing, freaking out, of course, because, you know, the crazy killer lady's down there. She takes Rosemary over to the guy on the gurney and takes her knife. She goes, if you love me, you're going to do this with me. And she places the knife over the guy's throat, grabs Rosemary's hand, puts it on the knife, and she goes, are you ready? And in the book, it talks about how her mind's racing. Like you can really feel it. Like it's so descriptive. You can feel the mind racing. Like, oh my God, I'm about to slit this guy's throat to go along with this. And she slashes her throat, the dude's throat. And the chapter ends. And we're at the end of the book. And I'm like, oh my God, no way, that's how it ends. Well, it talks about, fast forward time, and it talks about how Rosemary, the chapter goes into how Rosemary is sitting on the porch. And as she's sitting on the porch, she's writing, or she finds some magazine where she wrote a poem to be put into the magazine. And the poem is pretty much like a haiku of like a help me, pretty much, because she's playing the long game here. And then it talks about how she looks down and her legs are cut off. So Ash had kept Rosemary after killing the guy. She made sure she couldn't leave and tell anybody. She cuts off her legs and keeps her at the house, and is still feeding her human body parts, by the way. But she talks about how hopefully Ash doesn't find out that she wrote this help me in this poem that got posted in the magazine. Well, Ash ends up at the end of the book, comes up, you thought you were slick. I thought you loved me. I thought you were going to tell anybody. She ends up throwing Rosemary to the ground. And Rosemary's like, no, please, I thought you loved my words. She goes, I do, but I'll let you speak them for now. as like she'll cut her tongue out if she ever tries anything again, but to ensure she can't write anything again, the book ends with Ashley cutting off Rosemary's hands, and the book just ends there. And it's super cool. It's super messed up, and this book is very detailed. I recommend you read it. And my book reviews are pretty short, but it's just the basis of what happens, and the details are in here, not what I can give, but what you can read. And this book is incredible, and I got it at Barnes and Noble for 18 bucks, so it's definitely worth it. You can even find it on Amazon cheaper than that. But give this book a try. Stick around for the next one. I have a game review coming up too, but like I said, you can find me on Twitch multiple days throughout the week at Davey Deranged. And I know this book review is short, but it's a killer book, and I think you should read it. And yeah, that's a quick overview of Bloom by Delilah Dawson. So I'll see you guys at the next one. Thank you.